Oh girl, you looking snatched. Every time I tell someone what I do for a living, it is followed by a bunch of questions. It is quite cool for me to come on here and do a video based around my thoughts on what it's like being a mental health nurse at the age of 22. As you're watching this video, I want you to remember that the focus is mainly on the age, so my thoughts are not based on the nursing career itself. But I think first it makes sense for me to explain how I ended up in mental health nursing in the first place. Before I got into it, I always say it's by accident. Nursing is not something I've wanted to do from when I was a child. No. I wanted to be a GP. Growing up, I kind of really wanted to be a doctor. Not surprising. In the core subjects, there's always one that you like out of maths, English and science. Mine was always science. I loved biology, and I thought, yeah, I wasn't as bright in science as I thought I was. So my dreams of becoming a doctor was shattered when I was about to enter college because I couldn't do the subjects that I needed to do because of the grades that I got. So I ended up doing a different course that was still related to science. As I was studying that course in college, the thought of doing midwifery just really grew on me. I just loved the thought of me helping other women deliver babies and being a part of that amazing process. And I was just like, yeah, I want to do midwifery. The UCAS now, and UCAS is basically the application that we do in the UK to apply for universities. All 5 of my options were for midwifery. I did not get one. I got declined by all 5 of them. From that moment, there was either 2 options. I was working anyway. I was working from college, so I could either take a gap year and just work, or I go through clearing. I didn't want to take a gap year because I knew I would procrastinate. I wouldn't take it seriously and I'll get very lazy. So I don't want to do a gap year. I will go through clearing. So going through clearing, the thought of doing nursing is very similar to midwifery, you know. So I was like, okay, let me try nursing. So then through a process of elimination, this sounds so bad, but through the process of elimination, I was like, okay, child nursing, I can't do that. I hate seeing children in pain. That's not going to be a rewarding career for me. And then adult nursing, just didn't tickle my fancy. And then I remember in college, I did AS level psychology, and I found it amazing. I loved it. So I was like, okay, mental health is different. Let me try it. Bearing in mind, when I left college, I did not know nothing about mental health nursing. I didn't know nothing about nursing in general. I didn't do my research. It was shambles. To the test, went to the interview, I was talking the utmost of rubbish. They were asking me questions I didn't know the answer, but they decided to give me a chance. I graduated with a first class, and that is how I ended up in mental health nursing. What a story. That's just the brief story behind how I ended up in nursing. I think I'm going to do it as 5 good things and 5 bad things. I'm going to start with the bad things now because I want to end the video on a good positive note. First bad thing is the social life. Age of 22, you know, is the time where everyone wants to just be out there, you know, socialize with their friends, meet new people, go clubbing all the time, go raving. That's the kind of age you're allowed to do those things. Right from the beginning, from when you're training to be a nurse, is very difficult. Now, I'm not saying the social life is impossible, but it's a lot difficult because the way the course is set up is longer than any other course. Number 1, your holidays are shorter, and number 2, when people are on holidays, you might actually be on placement. It gets worse when you actually qualify. Every time you work, you're always tired at the end of your shift, and then the days that you do have off, you would like to rest, especially if you're like a female. You want to think about starting a family, meeting your potential bae, you know, you want to meet your potential husband. Social life is something that worried me at the start, but like I said, it's not impossible. It just means you have to work harder. The second point, the fact that you have a lot of responsibilities. Other 22-year-olds, their responsibility is probably making sure they wake up on time every morning to go to work. As a nurse, sometimes you are in charge of shifts. You are in charge of, you know, maybe 16 patients and your staff. You have to delegate. You do have to make sure the shift goes well. Whenever you are on shift, you have to coordinate. So whatever problem arises, you have to find a solution. You take on a lot of responsibility as a mental health nurse, and sometimes some people are just not ready to take on that much responsibility. There's a lot of procedures, there's a lot of policies. All of these things just make the job heavy. And third thing on my bad list, people might not take you seriously. This was something I was very nervous about. And like in mental health, sometimes you have to deliver bad news. You might not be able to let someone out, and someone's shouting at you like, let me out, I want to go out. I can't let you out because I'll be breaking rules. The response I get is,
who are you telling what to do? My child is older than you. Do you think you're nice? Do you think you're better than everyone else?
Very annoying. No matter how respectful I say the news, I will always get that. In nursing, there's a lot of Africans. For Africans, there's this respect thing. Part of your task is to delegate to support workers. And when you have support workers that are like old enough to be your mum, old enough to be your dad, and you're telling them what to do, sometimes they might even dislike you for it. I haven't experienced it, and I'm lucky to be in a team where there's respect all around, but I can't imagine if you're in a horrible team, cause problems. Like, people might just think that maybe you think you're better than everyone else, but that is your job. That can be really difficult, so you have to be prepared to be able to prove yourself. Working in a team that isn't enjoyable and isn't fun isn't going to make your job any easier. Be mindful that your age will have an effect, but it depends on how you portray yourself, and if you portray yourself in a good light, regardless of your age, you will command the respect that you need. Fourth thing on my bad list is quite deep, actually. I'm trying to be careful with the kind of words that I use. As you can imagine, in the mental health field, there's a lot of things that you're exposed to. There's a lot of horrible stories that you hear. There's a lot of sad stories that you hear, sad experiences that people have gone through. And that's all just part of the job. I believe that at certain stages of your life, there's a certain amount of awareness you're supposed to have on the world. Sorry to bring this up, but like, you know, like when like young people are like go through a trauma when they're really young, like when they're abused, you hear people say, oh, their innocence have been taken away. Like, they're aware of the wrong things too soon. At the age of 22, I'm more aware of the bad in the world. I'm supposed to be living the carefree life. I'm not really supposed to be thinking too hard about stuff, but now I do, because I'm aware of so much bad. I feel like I don't enjoy my life as much as I would if I didn't know these things. I find it harder to trust people. At the age of 22, you don't really need that baggage. You can have that baggage when you've experienced life a lot more. Like, as much as we like to think at 22 we're grown, we're really not. It's not really safe for a lot of 22-year-olds to be exposed to the kind of traumas that happen in life. Maybe if you're a bit older, you'll be able to handle a lot of the stuff that you hear. And the fifth thing kind of links in with the fourth point. It's basically the job is mentally challenging. It's mentally tough. And I always say to myself, you know, like when you hear nurses that have been nurses for like 30, 40 years and you're just thinking, how are you not mentally ill? Like, anyone who tells you mental health is a piece of cake is a lie. Not many 22-year-olds can say that they've been in a situation where they've had to talk someone out of actively trying to end their life, or, you know, trying to self-harm. Not many people can say that they've helped someone through a depressive episode. Very important to try and have a social life, even though it's quite difficult. You need to try and have something outside of nursing. Sometimes you do find yourself taking work home, and you're not supposed to do that. It's not healthy. There's no on and off switch. I wish there was, but there isn't. Now I'm gonna move on to the good. So the first one, the skill to meet new people, or forced to meet different people from different backgrounds. I feel like if everyone could, they would stay in a circle that they're comfortable in. For instance, I'm African, so I would get along very well with Africans because there's a lot of similarities. When I was in secondary school, majority of my friends were Africans. When I was in college, majority of my friends were Africans. You gravitate to similarities more than you gravitate to differences. Since becoming a nurse, I have developed the skill, because it's part of my job to, you know, build and make relationships with different kind of people, your clients, your staff, doctors, psychologists, physiotherapists, occupational therapists, all these kind of different people. Not bragging, you could have 10 people in a room, different walks of life, different backgrounds, and I can get along with every single one of them. And I put that down to the fact that I'm a mental health nurse, because that's what I do daily. I have to talk to people that I wouldn't necessarily speak to outside of work. That skill is amazing. To be able to do that at the age of 22. Now, number two, you can have a career job straight away. The story is very similar for many 22-year-olds. It's very hard to get your career job after you graduate, end up in like a retail job as a substitute until they get their career job. The thing with nursing, there's a shortage of nurses everywhere. I remember securing my job before I actually graduated. You're setting yourself up at such a young age already. You know, at 22, you have your career job, you're on a salary. And the good thing about nursing is it's very transferable. Like, maybe move to Manchester and I'm pretty sure I can get a nursing job in Manchester. You know, I can travel to a different country. Some countries you have to do additional courses, but your degree is recognised in different countries. So like, I could maybe travel to Canada and be a nurse in Canada, do you know? The third thing gives you great life skills. Many 22-year-olds can say that they've saved someone's life through CPR or quick decisions in the matter of life and death. As a nurse, you're trained to do that. It gives you the skill to be able to think fast on your feet. It gives you a lot of great life skills. You don't only have to use at work, you can use in your day-to-day life. Sometimes it's great to have these skills because you never know when you'll need it. You get fire training, you get emergency life support training, de-escalation techniques. Who says no to more knowledge? Who says no to more skills? Nobody. Fourth thing on my good list, coming into nursing at such a young age, there's a lot more chance of you progressing and getting into like the leadership roles if that's what you wanted. People have babies younger, I get that, but let's just say like a 22-year-old who doesn't really have commitments outside of work is more likely to thrive and push to get to the higher positions, like, you know, nurse executive and stuff like that. Someone who's maybe 40, who has kids, who you know, who has a lot of commitments outside of work might not want to push to be in leadership roles. And that's the thing, like at the age of 22, if you're already a staff nurse, what's stopping you from being, you know, in a really high position when you're 25? And I don't even know a career that allows you to progress very quickly, because in nursing there's so many opportunities, there's so many jobs, there's new jobs that come out all the time. It aims to meet the needs of your service users. So I'm sure like in a long time ago there wasn't drug and alcohol services, but there is now. You know, there wasn't perinatal services, but there is now. The last point, you develop resilience. This job is so testing. You develop such thick skin. The job does potentially have the ability to break you, but if it doesn't break you, it makes you stronger. You know, there's sometimes where, you know, you have to restrain people. There's sometimes sometimes you do get attacked. Sometimes you get called names. You know, sometimes you get shouted at. It's just the nature of the job. You develop resilience because once you go through that, you know that you're stronger enough to deal with whatever else comes. I've only graduated a year and I've already been through so much in my practice. I was in charge of a shift where a patient has died. I have, you know, made a medication error. I have so many things that's happened, but all of this just makes you a stronger person. And I'm sure like if something was to come my way in my job, I would use my experiences to deal with it. And that's what makes a great nurse. A great nurse is not someone who does everything, you know, perfectly. We're all human. You learn not to quit. If you make a mistake, you're stuck in it. You have to make it right. You can't just say, okay, I'll start again. These are real life and this is real people. It's not textbook. Every single day is different. When I go to work and these people are calling me all sorts of names, I find it funny. It's humor to me now because I've developed that thick skin. If there's anyone who, you know, is thinking of joining nursing at such a young age, some of the advice that I would give you is to definitely do your research. That's something I didn't do, and I'm not sure that if I did my research I would be in nursing. Everything happens for a reason, and I think there was a reason why I didn't do my research and I've ended up in mental health nursing. But if you do have the chance to research, please research. As much as I'm, you know, joking in my videos and stuff, it is a serious career. I think it's starting to become quite common. A lot of young people are going into nursing now. So like, talk to people who have experienced it. Talk to people who are qualified. How do they find being young at nursing? You know, not even just mental health. How do people who are doing child nursing or adult nursing find their role? Overall, I do love my job. I really can't explain the feeling of what it's like when you help somebody. The reward I get from knowing that I've helped someone or I've saved someone's life is a lot greater than the bad that I experienced in the job. I wish I can tell you some of the stories and some of the things I've seen in my job already, but obviously I can't. If you guys found this video helpful, if you like this video, if you like these kind of, you know, videos, please make sure you comment down below. Also make sure you share to all the people that, you know, might be able to benefit from this video. I don't think any video will be able to explain to you what it's like to be a nurse. Love you guys, and see you guys in our next video. Mwah.